Hey bitches. Hey guys, my name's Neli Jolise and this is my first YouTube video. Welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I do my everyday makeup routine. Also, if you hear my dogs in the background, just ignore them. I did my brows off camera just because they're time consuming and tedious, but if you guys want a video on how I do my brows, I could show you guys that too. So before anything, I do like to go in with a little bit of moisturization on the lips. It just keeps it from all the foundation and concealer layering on the lips and making them dry by the time we get to the end. I did prime my face already with the Hard Candy Sheer Envy Long Wear Primer. I did do my brows already because they are time consuming. For spot concealing, I used the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the shade Porcelain. I do go in and spot conceal, especially on acne scars, my piercing scars up here, small pimples, discoloration, etc. This is also optional, but it does help with coverage. So this is what we're looking like. I do let this dry so that when we apply a foundation, it's smooth and the concealer is not coming through. So the foundation I use is the L'Oreal True Match. Sometimes I do pair it with the Maybelline New York Superstay Longwear foundation, but this is my current fave right now. These are all the places that I apply it, and then I just start blending it out with a sponge. So this is the first layer. It's super skin-like, and I wouldn't say the coverage is the best, but I do go in with the second layer. You may think it's a lot, but again, this is a super natural foundation. It doesn't really cover the best, but again, it is a super buildable foundation. A little tip, if you do have dry skin, this may work for you. It is a more oily foundation, so I don't recommend this for someone who does have oily skin. But if you're dry or a combination like me, this could really work for you. So now I'm on to concealer. I do use the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Foundation in the shade F10.2. This is just to neutralize everything because I do like a bright under eye. This is just so that the blend is a little bit more even and help the blend out a lot better. I do put it in other places as well, like the chin and right in between the brows, and I like to bring it down here a little bit as well. So I do like to blend out the smaller areas just because it allows me to not drag product everywhere else, because there's a lot more concealer here than there was here. So if I blended out this first, I would be taking concealer in places that I don't necessarily want it or need it. This is also for coverage as well because this foundation is a little bit sheer. So that's why I go in with another product to make sure my under eyes are super full coverage. And this is the brighter concealer I use. It's the e.l.f. Camo Concealer in the fairest color, which is Fair Rose, I believe. So because it's a super light, I only want to take a little bit. So I'm going to apply it in the inner corner of my eye and then the outer part, and then dragging it up a little bit. A little tip, just make sure you're not applying too much. Again, this is a thinner foundation, so you don't want to layer heavy products on top, and the e.l.f. Camo Concealer can be a little bit thick. So I start blending out on my inner corner, and I keep my beauty blender straight, and then when I start to go outwards, I turn it like this, so I'm not dragging any product from here all the way out from here because it's going to disrupt our shape. It is now fully blended out, so now I'm going to go ahead and set with powder. The powder I use is the Maybelline Superstay in the shade 102 Fair Porcelain. It's the powder foundation. It is full coverage, so I like to tap it out on the back of my hand and then go and blend out and then press the powder into my under eye, and this helps with creasing. After I've done that first initial set, I am going to go in with a little bit more, and this time I'm not going to tap it off. That way it gives me a super bright under eye like that. Now that I've set my under eyes, I'm going to go in with the Morphe Glamabronze in the shade Megastar, in which I'm almost out, and a fluffy angled brush, and I'm going to start pushing the product into my cheek instead of dragging, because every time you drag with no matter what product, you always risk the chance of lifting the foundation. It can become cakey, etc. I do other places like my forehead, my chin, and I do a little bit on the nose, but I leave the rest of my nose for nose contour. Another thing when it comes to blending out face products, no matter what type of product or consistency, you always want to be light-handed, because if you're too harsh, you can risk, again, lifting product, and you don't necessarily want that. Don't forget to set the corners. It depends on what type of nose you have as well. Not everyone needs the step, but because I have deep creases in my nose, I need the step. So now I'm going to take a dense brush, and this is the Morphe M405, and this is the Abby Roberts X Morphe palette, and I'm taking the shade Zola, which is a cooler toned brown, and I'm going to use this shade to deepen up my contour. Well, my bronzer. This step is the contour. The contour is more cool and adds shadowing in your bronzers to warm up and give your skin life again. Next, I'm going to take some of that foundation powder and I'm going to carve out my jawline. I do like a softer cut, but it's all up to preference. Now to blend my contour, bronzer, and under eye concealer all together, I'm going to apply blush. Again, I'm going to be using the Abby Roberts palette, and I'm going to take these two shades, which are Interrupted and Pink Champagne. I do like to take a lot just because when I use cream products, the cream really absorbs the blush sometimes. So when I go in heavy-handed, it helps keep the blush pigmented. And then lastly, I take it under the nose, a little bit on the chin, and sometimes on my temples as well. For nose contour, I'm going to take the Abby Roberts palette again, and I'm going to go in with this shade, which is Walker. This is kind of a more warm tone, but it's not super warm to where it's going to look a little bit orange. So I just start taking it and lightly pressing it against the sides of my nose, like that. Then I take a little bit more and go under my nose, and I round it out like this. This just helps create that button nose effect if you're someone who likes that shade. Now I'm going in with Zola again. I took a little bit of Zola and dusted it over my nose. Zola is the cooler tone shade, so that way it helps create that shadow effect for a more button nose effect. So then I take my LA Girl Pro Concealer again, and I highlight the tip of my nose and then the bridge. I don't do a lot because I like something more subtle, but if you like a more pronounced nose highlight, then do that, of course. I just blended it out, and this is what it looks like. Now I just take a little bit of that foundation on my beauty blender, and I'm going to use that to carve out my nose contour and round out the sides of my nose. Let's move on to eyes. For that, I take a brush and I blend out the leftover concealer, and I'm going to apply a little bit more of that e.l.f. concealer, and this is just going to brighten the eye just a little bit, not too much because you don't want it to be brighter than your under eye. Now I'm going to blend it out with the other side of my sponge and lightly tap. I don't want to bring it up too high because I don't want to disrupt that concealer that we've already set up there. A little trick: keep your eye closed when you're blending out your concealer, then take your puff and press that powder in. Make sure you're putting enough powder because if you don't, it still will crease. So now I'm going to do eyeshadow, and I'm taking a Morphe M456 and this shade from the Abby Roberts palette, and this shade is called Brownie Points. And I'm just going to start packing that on my outer corner and start angling it outwards so we can kind of create that fox eye effect. Now I'm gonna take this shade right here, and this is the shade called RIP, and on a fluffy round brush I'm gonna take that gray and pack it on my inner corner. And now with a dense brush I'm gonna take the white and I'm gonna really focus it on my inner corner and make sure it aligns with my nose contour. I'm gonna curl my lashes and apply mascara. I don't curl my lashes too much just because I put falsies on top. And then mascara. Did you guys just see that fall? Oh, I didn't curl that one. Give me a second. For lashes, I take my Kiss lash glue and I apply it to my my lash line, and then I apply to my lashes as well. Now let the lash glue on your lash line and your lashes turn clear and then apply them. While my lashes are drying, I'm just going to take my eyebrow brush and go over my brows, because when I was blending out my foundation, some of that got onto the brows and put a little bit of foundation. While we're waiting for our lashes to dry, I'm going to take some toilet paper and clean off my lips. I go in with the NYX Lingerie in the shade Teddy Bear, I think, and I outline my lips. And then I just take a little bit of gloss, not too much because I do like the matte look. And then I'm just going to tap out my lips. So they have a little bit of shine, but not too much. So let's move on to lashes. So to apply my lashes, I put them on a pair of tweezers. And I look down in a mirror. And I push the middle in, the outer corner, and then I do the inner corner. Like that. You may need to adjust depending on your eye shape. I'm going to take the same two shades I used on the top of my eye and add it to the lower lash line. And I'm going to apply some mascara on my bottom lashes. So this is what we're looking like. And then last step, I'm going to go in with some glitter spray. I don't put any setting spray just because this pretty much does it. It's basically a hairspray. And this is the final look.